7 minutes on the clock. Portugal and Croatia still in that feeling out phase with no clear breakthrough yet. The next moment to watch is the first time either midfield line dares to punch a pass between the lines instead of recycling it safely. 7 minutes in here in Toronto, and that heat and humidity is absolutely part of the story already. Portugal and Croatia will have to be smart with their running and their pressing. If they burn too much fuel early, this match can suddenly stretch wide open later when the legs go. 7 minutes in Portugal, look set in that familiar defensive shell, but the midfield tweak is the real talking point. Someone different alongside Bettina changes the angles. If that partner can receive on the half turn, Portugal can feed Ronaldo quicker through the middle instead of going around the block.
Portugal is still the clear favorite in the high range, and the order book looks heavily stacked with more sell side overhead than a clean breakout. With no official score update yet at 7 minutes, it's still waiting for Croatia to land, the first real chance to force a repricing. Portugal stays a solid pre-match favorite in the high range, and the book looks anchored there with heavy two-way liquidity rather than a fresh swing. With no official score yet at 7 minutes, Croatia likely need the first real chance on goal to force any meaningful repricing.
That generational mix in Croatia is fascinating. Modric and Perisic still dictate the calm moments, but the real question is whether the newer attackers can make this sharp. Decisive runs off their shoulders when Portugal's midfield tries to squeeze the space.
Portugal still priced as the clear favorite in the high range, and the book looks pinned there with big liquidity on both sides rather than any fresh drift. With no official score change at 7 minutes, it's still Croatia who need the first real moment to move this line.
7 minutes gone in Portugal against Croatia, and with no official incidents yet, it's still a game of small margins and first decisions. The next real clue will be which side dares to play that first vertical pass into feet between the lines instead of recycling it safe. 7 minutes played in Portugal against Croatia, and with no official incidents yet, it's still a cagey open, both teams taking the safe option and keeping their lines tight. The first side that dares to thread a pass into that pocket behind midfield could flip the whole rhythm. And we are underway. The first half begins, Portugal versus Croatia, on the clock. Early on, it's all about who owns that central corridor. If Modric gets a touch of freedom, Croatia can slow it down. If Portugal squeeze him, it turns into quick transitions.
Portugal are still priced as the clear favorite in the high range with a draw in the highs, and Croatia down in the teens, pretty steady, right after kickoff. At 0-0 in the first minute, the next clean Portugal chance is the one that could firm this up further. Portugal are still priced as the clear favorite in the high range with a draw in the highs, and Croatia stuck in the teens, and there's no real drift despite some chunky early tickets. At 0-0 in the first minute, the next Portugal spell of pressure is what could nudge that edge a touch higher.
2 minutes gone in Toronto, Portugal and Croatia, still 0-0, and that midfield duel is already the heartbeat of it. If Modric and Kovacic can get clean touches facing forward, Croatia can dictate. If Portugal nick and release Leao and Neto early, Ronaldo's in business. 2 minutes gone. Portugal and Croatia still 0-0, and you can already see Portugal's plan. Get Leao and Neto isolated out wide and whip that early ball toward Ronaldo. Croatia's big test is staying compact inside while still getting a fullback out quickly enough to stop those wide bursts. 2 minutes in, it's still 0-0, and Croatia are already sitting compact, daring Portugal to find a way through. Bettina looks like the metronome here. Portugal need those quick switches to spring Leo or Neto, then get an early ball aimed at Ronaldo.
Portugal are still sitting around the high favorite mark with a draw in the highs and Croatia in the teens, and the line looks basically pinned early at 0-0 in the second minute. The next sustained Portugal attack is the one that could tighten that edge.
3 minutes in, and it's still 0-0 with Croatia looking compact and quite happy to make Portugal play around them. If that stays the picture, Portugal's cleanest route is fair, switches to isolate Leao or Neto wide and get an early ball into Ronaldo before the block can shuffle across. 3 minutes gone, Portugal, Croatia still 0-0, and Croatia are staying really compact, trying to let Modric and Kovacic set the rhythm in the middle. For Portugal, it's got to be those quick switches out to Leao or Neto to create a 1v1 and fire early service toward Ronaldo. 3 minutes in, and Croatia have the first real sight of goal. Budimir cutting it from the left of the box and forcing the save. Portugal's keeper down quickly to smother it. That's an early warning for Portugal's back line. Croatia are willing to drive straight at them when the lane opens.
Portugal remain a clear favorite in the mid-range with the draw and the highs, and Croatia in the teens, and the pricing looks pinned despite some chunky two-way tickets. At 0-0 on 4 minutes that early, Croatia's shot is the kind of moment that can keep this from drifting further toward Portugal.
4 minutes gone, Portugal and Croatia still 0-0, and you can already hear the Portuguese appeals in that final third. Croatia staying so compact that every touch is under pressure, and Bruno Fernandes is trying to buy that half yard with quick little nudges and turns. 4 minutes in, and Bruno Fernandes has a right-footed effort from the middle of the box, but Croatia's keeper stands him up and makes the save. Still. That's Portugal finding Bruno in that little pocket early. Croatia can't let him race and goal like that.
Portugal still sit as a mid to high favorite, with Croatia down to the high teens and the draw on the highs, and the line looks basically pinned despite chunky two-way tickets. At 0 on 4 minutes that early, Croatia chance keeps us from tilting further Portugal's way unless the home side starts turning these half spaces into real shots.
5 minutes gone. Portugal and Croatia still 0-0, and that left side is already screaming danger. Leao's pace with the overlapping fullback is the one thing stretching Croatia's compact 4-4-2. If Portugal move it quicker and switch play early, those deliveries into the middle will come before the block can slide. 5 minutes in, still 0-0, and Portugal have already had a couple loud shouts in the box, waved away by the referee, with Croatia sat in that compact, physical low block. Every little nudge on Ronaldo and those late runs from Bruno are going to be right on the edge all night.
Portugal are still priced as the clear favorite in the mid to high range with the draw in the high 2-0s and Croatia in the teens, so the market's basically holding steady early. At 0-0, 5 minutes in, a Portugal goal is the one thing that would quickly squeeze the draw and push Croatia further out. Portugal are still priced as the clear favorite in the high range with the draw highs and Croatia in the teens. And despite some big two-way tickets, the line's basically pinned. At 0-0, 6 minutes in, it's still waiting on a real Portugal breakthrough to press that edge higher.
4 minutes in, and Portugal are knocking. Bruno Fernandes has one block from point-blank range on the left of 6-yard box, and then Vitinha's hit from distance is smothered by bodies. Croatia are defending so compactly that Portugal's shots are getting crowded out before they can really bite.
Portugal are still priced as the clear favorite around the high mark with the draw on the highs and Croatia in the teens, and it's basically pinned despite some chunky two-way tickets. At 0-0 on 6 minutes, it still takes a clean Portugal breakthrough to squeeze the draw and push Croatia further out.
7 minutes gone, still 0-0, and Portugal have a corner after Kovacic concedes under pressure following that Sucic foul on Gione. Early set piece here for Portugal. Croatia had been so compact that dead balls might be the cleanest way to get first contact in the box.
Portugal are still priced around a 6-0 favorite with a draw in the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens. So despite big two-way tickets, the line hasn't really budged. At 0-0 and Portugal winning a corner on 7 minutes, a clean set piece chance is the quickest way to firm that edge. Portugal still hovering around a 6-0 favorite with a draw in the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, and despite heavy two-way size, the price looks basically pinned. At 0-0 with Portugal earning this early corner, a clean set piece header is the quickest way to tighten that Portugal edge. Portugal are still priced as roughly a 6-0 favorite with the draw on the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the market's basically holding its ground despite the big early tickets. At 0.08 minutes in, this Portugal corner is the kind of moment that can nudge that edge up if they turn it into a clean first contact.
7 minutes in and it stays though. Wow, Cancelo has a swing from outside the box after the corner, but he leans back and sends it sailing over the bar. Portugal are getting bodies around these set pieces early, but that one never really threatened Livakovic.
Portugal are holding around a 6-0 win chance with the draw mids in Croatia, mid-teens, and the pricing still looks pinned despite heavy two-way size. At 0-0 on 8 minutes, if Portugal keeps stacking corners and pressure, that edge can firm quickly without needing a big swing. Portugal still priced around a 6-0 favorite with the draw mids in Croatia and the mid-teens, so despite the big two-way tickets, the line is basically unchanged. At 0-0, 9 minutes in, that says the market needs a real Portugal chance, not just territory, to push this further their way. Portugal are still priced around a 6-0 favorite with the draw in the mid and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the market's basically pinned despite heavy two-way flow. At 0-0 on 9 minutes, it's waiting for a genuinely big Portugal chance to justify another step up.
10 minutes in and it's still 0-0, but you can see the conditions are going to shape this one. Hot, sticky air, and that low sun sitting right in the keeper's eye line. Any high ball into that bright patch, especially from corners and early crosses, becomes a real test of handling and judgment.
Portugal are still sitting around a 6-0 favorite with the draw in the mid and Croatia in the mid-teens, so despite the big tickets, the price action is basically unchanged. At 0-0 on 10 minutes, that tells you the market wants a clear-cut Portugal chance before it tightens further.
10 minutes gone and it stays 0-0. But Croatia have just carved out another look. Polymarket rising in the middle and heading over from the center of the box. That's two early sights for him now, and Portugal's center backs can't let those crosses land on his forehead. 11 minutes gone and it's still 0-0 between Portugal and Croatia. Polymarket has already had a couple early looks in the box, and Portugal's center backs will be desperate to stop those crosses arriving cleanly onto his head. 11 minutes in and it's still 0-0, but that heat and humidity are already a factor, and the low sun is a real nuisance for the goalkeeper. Any corner or early cross dropping into that bright patch becomes a split-second decision. Catch, punch, or risk it skidding right through you. 11 minutes gone, it's still 0-0, and that Kobashi calf talk is one to watch in this heat. If he can't open up his stride, Croatia lose a huge outlet to carry it through midfield. Against Portugal's early squeeze, that first touch and turn has to be sharp.
Portugal still sitting around a 6-0 favorite with the draw mids in Croatia in the mid-teens, so despite those big two-way clips, the pricing is basically pinned. At 0-0 on 1 minute, it's still waiting for a real Portugal breakthrough to squeeze the draw. Portugal still about a 6-0 favorite with the draw mids and Croatia in the mid-teens, and despite big two-way tickets, the price is basically pinned. At 0-0 after 2 minutes, that's the market saying. It needs a truly clear Portugal chance before it tightens further.
12 minutes in and it's still 0-0, but you can feel the temperature rising around the referee. Already Croatia's leaders are straight in his ear whenever a call goes Portugal's way. In a game this tight, one cynical tug to stop a break or one late clip in midfield could light the fuse. Kovacic clips Nuno Mendes on 1 minutes, and Portugal have a free kick in the attacking half, still low. That's a dangerous area for Portugal to load the box or whip it into that bright patch in front of Livakovic where the sun can make handling really awkward. 13 minutes, still 0-0, and any Portugal dead ball in. That attacking half just drags every eye to Cristiano Ronaldo. With that low sun bothering Livakovic, even a routine strike or a whip delivery suddenly feels like a real moment.
Portugal still prices about a 6-0 favorite with a draw, mids in Croatia in the mid-teens. So despite those big two-way clips, the line's basically pinned. At 0-0 on 1-3 minutes, the next clean Portugal set piece is the obvious trigger to squeeze the draw.
13 minutes gone, it's still 0-0, and that Croatian story just keeps repeating itself. Small nation, huge nerve, and Modric still the calm center of it all. Portugal have had the early initiative, but Croatia are built to absorb and then sneak up the pitch when you switch off.
Portugal stays priced as a low favorite with the draw mids and Croatia mid-teens, so despite chunky two-way tickets, the market's basically pinned. At 0-0 in the 1-3 TH minute, it's still waiting for a genuinely big Portugal chance to squeeze that drawdown.
13 minutes and it's still 0-0, but Cristiano Ronaldo has just let fly from outside the box, and Croatia get a body in the way to block it. That's the pattern. Early on, Portugal probing from range and Croatia's defensive line stepping out quickly to shut the shooting lane.
Portugal still prices about a 6-0 favorite with the draw mids and Croatia mid-teens, so despite heavy two-way size, the market's basically unchanged. At 0-0 on 1-4 minutes, that stability says one clean Portugal chance is the likeliest trigger to compress the draw. Next.
14 minutes gone, it's still 0-0. Portugal against Croatia, and it does have that Euro 2016 patience about it. Both sides weighing every pass. You can sense it's the kind of game where one set piece or one clean cross onto Portimir's head could decide the whole story. 14 minutes in, still 0-0, and JL can... That's exactly what Croatia want right now. Slow it down, get a breather, and reset that compact shape before Portugal can build any rhythm.
Portugal still holding around a 6-0 win chance with the draw in the mid-Cs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the market's basically pinned again despite all that size sitting on the book. At 0-0 on 1-5 minutes, it's still waiting for a real Portugal chance to finally squeeze the draw.
15 minutes gone, Portugal, 0-0, Croatia. And it really does echo that Euro 2016 chess match, both teams measuring every pass and refusing to open the door. With Ronaldo already having one block and Polymarket glancing a header over, it feels like the next clean set piece or cross could swing it. 15 minutes and it's another corner for Portugal, still 0-0, and Marin Pangachisic has had to concede it under pressure. Portugal are stacking these set pieces now, and with that low sun, every ball swung into the 6-yard box is a real test for Livakovic. 16 minutes gone, still 0-0 and A. Portugal set piece just turns into a Ronaldo moment. Everyone in the stadium holds their breath. Even when it doesn't fly in Croatia's wall and Livakovic know they're living on the edge with every strike. 16 minutes still 0-0, and Croatia are treating every Portugal dead ball like a mini emergency wall set, one man down behind it. Bodies committed to blocking the lane before it ever reaches Livakovic. If Portugal keep racking up corners and free kicks, that organization could be the difference. 17 minutes, still 0-0, but Portugal are making these corners a real weapon, dribbling with pace and aims right at that near post corridor. Croatia have to win first contact there because one free runner attacking that space and it's instant danger for Livakovic. 17 minutes, still 0-0, and Ruben Dias has gone into the book for that foul on Polymarket in the Croatian attacking half. Portugal have already had joy from corners, but that's a needless set-piece chance to hand Croatia a look into the box. 17 minutes in and it's still 0-0, but that booking for Ruben Dias is a real warning shot. Arms up, contact high, and the referee's not letting it slide. In a game this tight, one rest challenge just gives Croatia a set-piece look and a moment of pressure. 17 minutes gone and it's still 0-0, but Portugal are absolutely leading on those corners, whip with real pace into that near post lane. Croatia cannot switch off for a second there because one free run and one clean header changes the whole match. 17 minutes, still 0-0, and that Ruben Dias yellow tells you the referee's drawing a hard line on high arms and heavy contact. 17 minutes in, and Ruben Diaz goes into the book for Portugal after that bad foul, and Croatia have immediately earned another free kick on the right as Renato Vega clips Sucic. In a 0-0 like this, Portugal cannot keep handing Croatia these wide set-piece looks into the box. 18 minutes gone, still 0-0, and Portugal's corners are absolutely a pattern now, driven hard into that near post channel with runners are riding on the move. Croatia have to get a body on that first jumper because Vega already got a free header, and that's a massive warning.
Portugal remain roughly a 6-0 favorite with the draw on the highs and Croatia mid-teens, so despite big two-way tickets, the line still isn't really moving. At 0-0 in the 180th minute, it tells you the market's waiting for a clear Portugal chance to finally lean harder their way.
18 minutes, still 0-0, and Portugal's corners are coming in like a rehearsed routine, driven hard into that near post lane. Vega already got a free header once, and Croatia cannot keep losing that first contact, or it's only a matter of time.
Portugal are still holding near a 6-0 win chance with the draw on the highs in Croatia mid-teens, so despite all that size, the market's basically stuck in place. At 0-0 on 19 minutes, that says one clean Portugal set-piece chance is still the trigger to squeeze the draw.
19 minutes in, and it's still 0-0, but you can feel why Ronaldo starts. Croatia's center backs are glued to him on every dead ball, and it changes their whole spacing. Even that earlier blocked hit and the near post corner routine keep dragging extra bodies into his zone.
Portugal are still priced around a 6-0 favorite with the draw on the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so despite big two-way tickets, the line's basically pinned. At 0 on 19 minutes, that steadiness says the market's waiting for one clear Portugal set-piece chance to finally squeeze the draw.
19 minutes, still 0-0, and Ronaldo's presence is shaping the whole set-piece battle. Croatia are marking him like the ball's already in the air. Even when Portugal go near post, those extra bodies around him change who gets the second ball at the edge of the box. 20 minutes gone, still 0-0, and Portugal's best openings are coming down. That left channel where Nuno Mendes and Rafael Leao link up and make Croatia slide across. The big question is Ronaldo's positioning. If he stays high, he pins the center backs. But if he drops in, he can crowd the very lanes Leao wants to attack. 20 minutes gone, still 0-0, and Ronaldo's role is already warping. Croatia's defensive choices every time Portugal load the box, the center backs are checking him first. Even without a touch, that attention can free up runners like Vega and the left side link between Nuno Mendes and Rafael Leao. 20 minutes gone, still 0-0, and this is exactly why Ronaldo keeps getting the nod. Croatia's center backs are constantly checking his runs even when the ball's wide. That attention is shaping Portugal's structure, opening little pockets for Leao and those near post set-piece runners. 21 minutes in, it is still 0-0, and Croatia do look comfortable sitting in that compact block, letting Portugal circulate, and then snapping back into shape when the move breaks down. Portugal are having to manufacture their best moments through set pieces and that left side link because the central lanes are getting shut fast.
Portugal are still priced around a 6-0 favorite, with the draw on the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so despite heavy two-way tickets, the market's basically pinned. 0-0 on 21 minutes, that stability says it's still waiting for a real Portugal breakthrough to finally squeeze the draw.
21 minutes, still 0-0, and Croatia are absolutely happy in that compact shell with Modric even dropping in to help screen the center. For Portugal, the clearest way through is still those wide links. Work it down the flank, then hit the box with runners rather than forcing it through traffic. Still 0-0 at 2 minutes, and Portugal's brightest idea remains that left side connection between Nuno Mendes and Rafael Leao, trying to drag Croatia's block across. The danger is when they get impatient and funnel it inside. Croatia are stacked in those central lanes and just waiting to pounce.
Portugal are still priced around a lower favorite, with the draw highs and Croatia low teens. So despite big two-way size, the market's basically stuck. At 0-2, 2 minutes that steadiness is still waiting for a genuinely clear Portugal chance to finally compress the draw.
At you, 2 minutes still bull 0-0, and Ronaldo drifting deep and left is a real double-edged sword for Portugal. When he vacates that central striker lane, Croatia's center-backs can step out and the left side leap with Nuno Mendes and Rafael Leao risks running into its own traffic.
Portugal still sitting around a low sad favorite, the draw in the highs and Croatia low teens. So despite big two-way tickets, the pricing hasn't really budged. At 0-0 on 2-3 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very live, unless Portugal turn one of those set pieces into a clear-cut chance.
Corner to Portugal on 2-3 minutes, again conceded by Pongration, and Croatia are being dragged back into another set-piece scrap at 0-0. Portugal will advance this one after that earlier. Near post routine of Frida Vega for a header. 24 minutes gone and it's still 0-0, but you can see Portugal funding so much of their play down that left side, trying to make Croatia shuffle and crack. Croatia are staying really compact, and the problem is when they win it back, their wide men are so deep, there's no spring for a real counter.
Portugal are still priced around a 6-0 favorite, with the draw in the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so despite the big two-way clips, the line's basically glued. At 0-0 on 4 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very live unless Portugal finally turn one of these corners into a real chance.
24 minutes, still 0-0, and Croatia's shape is absolutely disciplined. Midfielders dropping in two tight lines and Portugal being pushed out toward the flanks to try and create. The trade-off is obvious when Croatia nick it. Their wide players are starting so deep that the break just can't get up the pitch quickly. 24 minutes, still 0-0, and João Neves has just blazed it over from the left side of the 6-yard box after Nuno Mendes' corner delivery. That's another set-piece moment where Portugal are getting bodies into the danger zone, but the finish has to be calmer. Drinks break now, a chance for both benches to reset. 25 minutes in, it's 0-0, and Croatia's discipline is really striking. Modric and the midfield line keep dropping in, squeezing those central lanes and basically daring Portugal to build from the wings. The flip side is when Croatia clear it, their wide men are so deep, there's no immediate outlet to turn defense into a counter. "26 minutes, still 0-0. And Portugal's best work is still coming down that left channel with Mendes and Leao forcing Croatia to shuffle. The issue for Croatia is when they win it, their wide options are starting too deep and too close together, so Portugal can just win it back and recycle the next wave. 26 minutes gone and it's still 0-0 after that drinks break, with Portugal yet again looking most threatening from corners and that left-sided supply. Croatia's two tight lines are holding firm, but they can't afford another free header in the box. 26 minutes, still 0-0, and Croatia's left side is getting stuck in that awkward transition moment when they win it. The widest options are so deep and tight together, there's no clean-out ball. Portugal just hoover it back up and recycle straight down their left again. 26 minutes, still 0-0, and that drinks break is a real tactical pause in this Toronto humidity. Croatia will want to come back with their two lines even tighter and a clearer out ball wide because Portugal keep building everything down that Mendes-Leao lane. 27 minutes in Toronto and it's still 0-0, and you can feel Croatia's game plan: stay compact, stay alive, and wait for one clean moment. Portugal have had the better of it, especially down that Mendes-Leao left channel from corners, but Croatia are refusing to blink. 27 minutes in Toronto and it's still 0-0, and that humidity makes the drinks break a proper tactical timeout. Croatia will be desperate to come back with those two tight lines even sharper, while Portugal have to turn all that left-sided pressure into one cleaner final ball. 27 minutes is still 0-0, and Portugal are back at it. Down that left flank, trying to turn wide pressure and set pieces into a real chance. Croatia are packed into the box so well that Portugal's next pass has to be earlier. One shot cutback before the block gets set. "28 minutes gone, still 0-0. And Croatia do feel like a team in that handover period. Loads of technique. But they're still hunting for that extra burst to turn a clearance into a proper counter. Right now, when they win it back, the outlets are starting so deep that Portugal can just squeeze up and win it again. 28 minutes, still 0-0, and Croatia have a go, Baturina. Let's fly from outside the box, but Portugal get bodies in the way and block it. That's exactly what Croatia need. A midfielder stepping up to test the screen rather than trying to thread it through a packed area. 29 minutes in Toronto, still 0-0, and Portugal are holding that really aggressive high line as they press from the front. Croatia have already shown the idea with that offside warning. Time to run a fraction better, and there's space to attack behind Portugal's center backs. Half an hour gone, and it's still 0-0. But Portugal have just had a huge moment. Cristiano Ronaldo rising from point-blank range and heading it wide. That's exactly the kind of close-range chance that left-sided supply is trying to manufacture against Croatia's packed box. Half an hour in Toronto, and it's still 0-0. But that Ronaldo header from point-blank range is the warning shot. Croatia can't ignore. Portugal are getting bodies into the six-shot box off that left-sided service, and the next cross might not be forgiven.
Portugal still priced around a 6-0 favorite with the draw in the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so that Ronaldo miss hasn't forced any real repricing. At 0 on 3-0 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very live, unless Portugal finally turn this less pressure into a goal. Portugal still priced just under 6 low to win with the draw in the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so even with chunky two-way flow, the market's basically pinned. At 0-0 on 3-1 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very live, unless Portugal finally cash in on this pressure.
32 minutes gone in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, and you can sense Croatia in that handover phase. Old heads setting the rhythm, younger legs ready to spring. Against Portugal's high line, the bravery is in the timing. One run too early, and it's offside. One run right, and they're in.
Portugal are still priced as roughly a 6-0 favorite with the draw highs and Croatia mid-team. So despite big two-way tickets, the market's basically
32 minutes in Toronto, and it's
at
still
0-0 on 3-2
0,
minutes,
but the
that
noise is
steadiness
relentless.
keeps the
Portugal and
draw
Croatia
very live,
both getting roared
unless
on like it's a
Portugal
home
finally
game.
turn this pressure into
You
a
can
goal.
feel how that split crowd tightens every touch and every decision in the match. This finally balanced. 32 minutes gone, still 0-0. And there's a real emotional edge around Portugal tonight with that moment of remembrance. In a game this tight, that kind of backdrop can sharpen the concentration, especially with Portugal holding such a brave high line. 32 minutes gone, still 0-0, and Portugal are holding that aggressive high line to squeeze Croatia up the pitch. It's brave, but Croatia have already flirted with the offside run. Get the timing right once, and they're straight in behind. 33 minutes gone, still 0-0, and Portugal's backline is holding really high, squeezing Croatia into playing in front of them. The big test now is Croatia's timing on that run. Beyond the center backs one step late, and it's offside one step right, and it's a clear sight of goal. 33 minutes, still 0-0, and it's another corner for Portugal. Perisic has to concede it under pressure. You just feel Portugal fancy these set pieces now after that Ronaldo header when begging. Croatia have got to win that first contact in the 6-yard box. 33 minutes gone. It's still 0-0, but Portugal are stacking up the corners now, and Croatia are being dragged into emergency defending inside the 6-yard box. If Portugal keep finding that byline for the cutback, one clean contact could finally tilt this stalemate.
Portugal are still priced around a 6-0 favorite with a draw in the highs and Croatia in the low teens. So despite the heavy size on both sides, the line's basically glued. At 0-0 in the 3-4 TH, that stability keeps the stalemate very live. Unless Portugal finally make one of his corners count.
34 minutes in Toronto, still 0-0, but Croatia's keeper looks a bit uncomfortable after that last ball into the danger area. In a game this tight, even a moment of hesitation on the next corner can turn first contact into chaos in the 6-yard box. 34 minutes gone, and it stays 0-0, but Portugal are knocking again. Nuno Mendes lets fly from outside the box, and Croatia get the block in. Then Lasic. Plips Vitina, and Portugal have a free kick on the left wing. Cancelo already shaping the danger from that side.
Portugal are still priced around the 6-0 favorite with the draw in the highs and Croatia in the low teens, so the market's basically unchanged despite all that two-way size. At 0-0 on 3-4 minutes with Portugal loading set pieces, that stability says the draw stays very live unless this free kick finally breaks.
35 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, but you can feel the emotion around Portugal tonight with that remembrance in the background. In a match this tight, that kind of moment can sharpen the focus, especially with another set-piece situation building from the left. 35 minutes gone in Toronto, still 0-0, and the spotlight's on. Rafael starting tonight. If Portugal are going to turn this pressure into a goal, it's those direct runs to the byline and the cutbacks into the 6-yard area that have to be cleaner.
Portugal are still about a 6-0 favorite with the draw highs and Croatia low teens, so despite heavy two-way tickets, the pricing hasn't really moved. At 0-0 in the 3-6 TH, that steadiness keeps the draw firmly in play unless Portugal finally turn this set-piece pressure into a breakthrough.
36 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, but Portugal's best openings are coming from that crisp one-touch play into the channel. Getting to the byline and pulling it back rather than hanging early crosses. Croatia are already being dragged into last-ditch blocks around their box one. Clean cutback, and this can swing fast. 36 minutes gone, still 0-0, and Croatia really do look like they've sunk into a back five to just soak it up. That's pushing Portugal out to the flanks. Byline runs and cutbacks feel like the clearest route because the middle is absolutely packed. Free kick to Portugal in the attacking half as Petar Sušić clatters into Bruno Fernandes on 3-7 minutes, and it's still 0-0. That's exactly the kind of stoppage Portugal want right now. Another chance to sling one into a crowded box with Croatia already sitting deep.
Portugal are still priced as roughly a 6-0 favorite with the draw in the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the market's basically glued despite the chunky two-way flow. At 0-0 in the 3-6 TH with Portugal piling on set pieces, that stability keeps the stalemate very live, unless this next delivery finally lands.
37 minutes, still 0-0, and Portugal have another free kick in the attacking half after Sucic catches Bruno Fernandes. With Croatia packed in, this is all about the first contact, one clean header or a loose second ball, and it can turn instantly. 37 minutes, still 0-0, and Portugal have that free kick in the attacking half after Sucic clears Bruno Fernandes. Croatia are sinking deeper and deeper, and every scrappy clearance is just handing Portugal another wave and another set piece. Look into that crowded box. 38 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0 with Croatia clearly dropping into that back five and squeezing the middle shut. Portugal have to keep shifting it side to side and be ruthless with the next cutback or set piece because open play gaps are tiny right now. 38 minutes, still 0-0, and the Lao selection is right in the spotlight tonight. With Croatia setting that back five, Portugal need his first step and that direct dribble to get to the byline and turn all this possession into one clean cutback chance. 38 minutes in Toronto, still 0-0, and that Rafael Leao is right at the heart of it. If he's starting, Portugal need him taking his fullback on early and getting to the byline because Croatia's back five is squeezing the middle shut.
Portugal are still sitting near a 6-0 win chance with a draw around the highs and Croatia in the mid-teens, so even with big opposing tickets, the price is basically pinned. At 0 in the 390H, that steadiness keeps the stalemate very live heading toward halftime. Unless Portugal finally cash in on a set piece.
39 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, but you can sense Portugal edging the game toward Croatia's box now. With Croatia sitting deeper and giving away set pieces and corners, Portugal's next delivery of cutback has to be the one that finally tests Livakovic properly. 39 minutes in Toronto, still 0-0, and Croatia really are dropping into a back five to just absorb and shuffle across. That's forcing Portugal to go patient and wide, but with Portugal's line so high, one clean first pass out and the ball in behind is on for Croatia. 40 minutes gone in Toronto, and it's still 0-0. But Croatia are getting forced deeper and deeper now, and Portugal keep earning those corners and set-piece looks. When you're defending that many second balls around your own box, one scrappy clearance can turn into the first real chance.
Portugal are still priced as a clear favorite, just under 6-0, with a draw around 3-0, and Croatia in the low teens, so despite big two-way size, the line hasn't budged. At 0-0 on 4-0 minutes, that steadiness keeps the halftime stalemate very much on the table.
40 minutes gone, it's still 0-0, and you can see the risk reward here. Portugal's line is so high that Croatia's best moment might be that first clean pass in behind the spring, a runner. But Croatia have to weather these repeated corners and second balls because Portugal are pinning them in. Quota to Portugal on 40 minutes conceded by Joslo Šutalo, and it stays 0-0. Croatia are just being forced to head hook and scramble everything away here. Portugal keeps stacking these set-piece moments, and one clean first contact could finally create the opening. 41 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, but Portugal are piling on the set pieces, and Croatia are having to defend their box over and over. You can see Croatia living off clear headers and hook clearances right now, just trying to get the halftime without one loose second ball, punishing them.
Portugal are still priced as a mids favorite with a draw just over 3-0 and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the market's basically unchanged despite all that size. At 0-0 in the 4-1 save with Portugal stacking corners, the pressure's real, but the pricing says halftime level is still very much in play. Portugal are holding in the mids to win with a draw just over 3-0 and Croatia in the mid-teens, so despite those big opposing tickets, the market's basically pinned. At 0-0 and the 4-2 ND, that steadiness keeps the halftime stalemate looking very live.
42 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, Portugal against Croatia. Portugal keep forcing those corners and second balls around the box, but Croatia's backline is holding firm. This next set-piece delivery could be the clearest route to a breakthrough before halftime. 42 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, but it's starting to feel like Croatia are just hanging on through wave after wave of Portugal corners. The danger isn't the first header, it's that loose second ball at the top of the box where one lapse in concentration gets punished.
Portugal are still priced in the mids to win with the draw around 3-0 and Croatia in the mid-teens. So despite big two-way tickets, the market's basically glued. At 0-0 in the 4-2-1D, that steadiness keeps a level halftime, looking the likeliest outcome, unless Portugal finally convert one of these set pieces.
43 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0. But the temperature's rising around the referee. Now Croatia feel a couple have gone against them that you can hear the reaction in the stands. That kind of frustration is dangerous late in the half because one rash challenge and Portugal get another set-piece look. 43 minutes in Toronto, still 0-0, and you can feel that heavy, steamy air starting to bite into legs in concentration. With Portugal stacking corners and Croatia living off clearances, one sloppy set-piece mark or a tired header could decide this right before the break. 43 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, but Croatia's concentration on those Portugal crosses has been immense. Perisic in particular keeps getting that first vital clearance. The danger now is the second ball, one loose drop at the edge of the box, and the first real opening appears.
Portugal are still sitting mids to win with the draw, just over 3-0, and Croatia in the mid-teens. So despite chunky two-way tickets, the pricing's basically pinned. It's still 0-0 at 4 minutes. That steadiness keeps a level halftime, looking the most likely.
44 minutes in Toronto, and it's still 0-0. And Croatia's spot defending has been absolutely razor sharp. Perisic and company just keep winning that first clearance. For Portugal, it's not about more crosses now. It's about one cleaner final ball or better second ball pickup to finally create a true chance. Halftime in Toronto, and it's still 0-0. Portugal have seen plenty of the ball, but the link into the forwards just hasn't been clean enough to turn possession into clear chances. Croatia have stayed compact and switched on, forcing Portugal into the safer pass rather than the killer one.
Portugal are still priced mids to win with the draw, just over 3-0, and Croatia in the low teens. So even with heavy two-way tickets, the line hasn't really shifted. At 0 on 4-5 minutes, that steadiness screams halftime level unless Portugal finally nick one from the last set piece.
45+1, and it's another foul for Suchik on the left side. Portugal win a free kick with Nuno Mendes, again the one drawing contact. That's exactly the area they've been loading up all half, and Croatia have to be perfect on that burst clearance one more time before the break.
Portugal are still sitting in the mids to win with the draw around a third, and Croatia in the low teens. So despite big two-way tickets, the pricing's basically pinned at 0-0. Right on halftime, that stability keeps the break level looking the cleanest read. Portugal are still priced mids to win with the draw about a third, and Croatia low teens. So the market's basically unchanged, even with big opposing tickets. With it 0-0 at the break, that steadiness says the stalemate is still the default until Portugal finally turn all that set piece pressure into a goal.
45-1, and it's another Portugal free kick on the left after Suchik clips Nuno Mendes with the score, still 0-0. Portugal have had the ball, but the link into Ronaldo and Bruno hasn't been clean. This delivery has to be sharper because Croatia have been compact and ruthless on first contact. 45+1, and Portugal win the free kick on the left through Nuno Mendes, and from Irapia Leao lashes a right-footer that sails high from the edge of the box. Still so cool. That's the moment Croatia will happily concede. Wide free kick, but no clean contact on target. We're at 4-5-2, and it's still 0-0, and you can see the coaching contrast on the touchline. Dalicic looks totally settled in, while Croatia aren't. While Martinez is still searching for the clean attacking connection. Portugal have had the set pieces in territory, but the final action hasn't clicked. War mail in Toronto, and it's still 0-0, and Croatia will be delighted with how they've protected that penalty area through Portugal's set-piece spell. For Portugal, it's not more territory now, it's one clean-up final ball because Leao's last effort just flew and the moment vanished.
Portugal are still only a mid's favorite with the draw, about a third, and Croatia low teens, so the price action's basically flat into stoppage time. At 0-0-4-5-2, that steadiness points to the interval staying level unless Portugal finally land one clean set-piece delivery.
45-2, and it's another stoppage time foul. Ruben Dias wins. Portugal free kick back in the defensive half. Still 0-0. That's Croatia trying to disrupt rhythm, but Portugal will be happy just to settle it, take the sting out of the press, and see this half out cleanly. 45-3, and Croatia win a free kick out on the left wing as Ruben Dias clips Ante Budimire. Again, Dias already on a yellow, so that's a risky one to make this late in the half. This is a real chance for Croatia to finally swing one into the box and test Parjal's marking before the whistle.
Portugal are still priced as a mid's favorite with the draw about a third and Croatia in the low teens, so the market's basically flat even with heavy two-way size. At 4-5-3 and still 0-0. That steadiness keeps halftime level the cleanest read unless this Croatia-wide free kick finally creates a real chance.
45-4, and Croatia have a free kick on the right wing after Jan Neres clips Sutalo, and suddenly Portugal had to defend a proper delivery before the whistle. With Dias already booked, they'll be desperate to hold their line and win that first header cleanly.
Portugal are still a mid's favorite at the break. With the draw, about a third, in Croatia in the low teens, so the market's basically frozen despite all that size. At 0-0 heading into the second half, that pricing says Portugal need an early breakthrough to justify favoritism.
Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and Croatia look more and more at ease, soaking it up and then going early into Budimir to get up the pitch. Portugal have had the ball, but Martinez needs a sharper link into the frontman after the break. Too much possession without the clear chance.
Portugal stay a mid's favorite at the half, with the draw around a third, and Croatia in the low teens, so the market's basically frozen despite heavy two-way tickets. With it still 0-0, that pricing says Portugal need to come out fast after the break and finally turn possession into a clean opener.
Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and that Budimir Ruben Dias battle is starting to feel like the hinge of the second half. Dias is already booked, and Nudimi is inviting contact every time it goes long. Portugal had to defend with their feet, not their arms. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been plenty of Portugal possession without really making the goalkeeper work. Croatia look increasingly comfortable sitting in and then going direct into Badume, and that duel with the book through. Dias could decide how the second half opens up. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and that frontline duel is getting properly physical. Croatia will happily buy contact and win those little free kicks to slow the game, so Portugal have to stay calm, defend with their feet, not with needless grabs and clips. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and you can't help but drink in the moment with Cristiano Ronaldo and Luka Modric still sharing this stage. The second half might come down to which of them can slow it down for a heartbeat and land one decisive touch in the key areas. Halftime in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and you can feel the game turning into a real contact battle. Croatia are quite content to win those little free kicks and slow the rhythm, so Portugal had to keep their discipline after the restart. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a stop-start finish with fouls and wide free kicks, rattling clear chances. The second half feels like it'll hinge on who keeps their discipline and turns those set-piece moments into a real look at goal. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia after a really stop-start finish of the half. Those late wide free kicks and little fouls have set the tone. Second half, it's about discipline and making a set piece actually count.
Portugal are still priced as a mixed favorite at the half, with the draw around a third, and Croatia in the low teens. So the market's basically unchanged despite heavy two-way tickets. At 0-0, that keeps the pressure on Portugal to strike early after the restart, or the stalemate trade stays in control.
Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a scrappy stop-start finish with fouls and wide free kicks killing the flow. After the break, Portugal had to turn that possession into something cleaner in the box because Croatia looked perfectly happy to slow it down and live off set pieces. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a fractured end to the half with fouls and wide free kicks rather than any real rhythm. After the restart, Portugal had to be cleaner in the final action because Croatia looked comfortable turning it into a set-piece game.
Portugal are still a low to mid favorite at the half with the draw in the mids in Croatia low teens, so pricing's basically stuck despite big size on both sides. At 0-0 heading into the restart, that market says Portugal need the first punch early in the second half.
Halftime in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia after a really scrappy whistle-heavy finish to the half. Those late wide free kicks have dominated the last few minutes, and the second half may come down to who turns one set piece into the first clean chance.
Portugal are still priced just over 5-0 to win, with the draw in the mid-seas and Croatia in the low teens, basically unchanged, despite all that big two-way flow. At 0-0 halftime, that steady line says Portugal need an early second half breakthrough to keep the market onside.
Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a whistle-heavy finish with free kicks piling up on both flanks. After the break, someone has to turn one of those wide set-piece moments into the first real chance because open play hasn't given us much. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and Portugal's brightest spells have come when they actually get proper service into the area. Crosses, knockdowns, those messy second balls. Croatia have stayed compact and patient, so the restart feels like it hinges on Portugal's delivery and the final touch. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's still been that whistle-heavy stop-start finish right on the break. The one clear sight was Leao snatching at it and sending it high. Second half, the first team to make a set-piece count could finally open this up. Halftime in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia after that whistle-heavy finish to the hand. Leao had the last look and blazed it over, and now it feels like one worked. Wide free kick could finally produce the first clean chance after the restart. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia after a first half that just kept getting chopped up by fouls and wide free kicks. Leao had the last sight of it and sent it over, and you sense the second half might be decided by one properly executed set piece.
Portugal are still just over a 5-0 favorite with the draw in the mid-seas, and Croatia in the low teens, and despite chunky two-way flow, the pricing looks basically pinned. At 0-0 halftime, that keeps the spotlight on Portugal to land the first goal early after the restart.
Halftime in Toronto, it's Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and you can feel Croatia are perfectly content staying compact and letting Portugal pass in front of them. For Portugal, the clearest path is earlier, better delivery into the box, crosses, knockdowns, and being first to those second balls.
Portugal are still priced as a low to mid favorite with the draw in the mids and Croatia in the low teens, so the market's basically pinned at halftime despite heavy two-way size. At 0-0, that keeps the pressure on Portugal to find an early second half opener, or the draw stays the comfortable position. Portugal are still just over a 5-0 favorite with the draw in the low to mids and Croatia in the low teens, so pricing's basically pinned at halftime despite heavy two-way tickets. At 0-0, that line says Portugal need an early second half breakthrough, or the draw stays the market's comfort zone.
Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's crying out for Portugal to be braver with that early ball into the area. Too often they shake the cross and check back, and Croatia are loving it, compact, patient, ready to mop up and fight for the second balls.
Portugal are still priced just over 50% to win at halftime, with a draw in the mid-30s and Croatia stuck in the low teens. So the market's basically pinned. At 0. That keeps the pressure on Portugal to strike early after the restart, or the stalemate trade stays in control.
Halftime in Toronto, and it's still Portugal. 0-0 Croatia after a first half that never really found a rhythm. That late spell was all whistles and wide free kicks, and Portugal's best look well flew high, so the restart needs a calmer final touch. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a stop-start end to the half with fouls and wide free kicks killing the rhythm. After the break, it feels like the first properly taken set piece or one composed finish could finally separate them. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and that first half just never settled with fouls and wide free kicks stacking up right to the whistle. After the break, it feels like the first cleanly worked set piece or one moment of composure in the box could finally tilt it. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and that first half ends exactly how it's felt. Stop-start, fouls and free kicks, breaking any rhythm. With Leao's late effort flying over, the second half is begging for one calmer decision in the box to finally create a real opening. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, after that foul-strewn stop-start finish to the hand. With so many wide free kicks and broken phases, it really feels like one well-executed set piece or one composed touch in the box could decide it after the restart. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a choppy whistle-led finish to that first half with free kicks piling up on both flanks. After the restart, this feels like it'll turn on one cleaner set-piece routine or a single composed touch in the box. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and the whistle has absolutely dominated that closing stretch of the first half. With so many wide free kicks either side, the second half may come down to who finally lands one accurate ball into the danger area. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's still goalless after a first half that featured a flurry of whistles and wide free kicks. The restart feels like it'll hinge on who finally turns one of those dead ball moments into a clean first contact in the box. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia after a first half that ended in a run of bells and wide free kicks. With rhythm so hard to find, the second half might be decided by who finally makes one dead ball delivery stick and wins that first contact in the area. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a choppy end to the half with fouls and wide free kicks on both flanks. With Leao's late chance sailing over, the second half feels like it needs one clean defining action to create a real opening. Halftime in Toronto, and it's Portugal 0-0 Croatia. Still goalless after the first half. That just couldn't find any flow. That closing stretch was all fouls and wide free kicks, and Leao's one-sided goal sailed over. Both coaches will want cleaner execution after the restart. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's still locked after a first half. That never really flowed, especially in those last few minutes with fouls and free kicks everywhere. That late Leao effort flying over is the kind of moment Portugal will feel they should be hitting the target with after the restart. Halftime in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia at 4-5-4. That first half ended in a tangle of fouls and wide free kicks, and with Leao blazing over late on, both sides will be desperate for a bit more composure in the final action after the restart. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a whistle-heavy finish with free kicks stacking up on both wings. The one clear sight of goal laid on, so Rafael Leao lean back and send it over. Both sides need calmer execution after the restart. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a stop-start finish with fouls and wide, free kicks killing the rhythm. That late, Leao Chen's flying over is the reminder. One cleaner set piece or one calmer touch in the box could swing it after the break. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's still tight after that stop-start finish to the half. With so many fouls and wide free kicks right before the whistle, the second half feels like it'll be decided by who finally shows a bit of composure on a dead ball. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's still goalless after that whistle-heavy finish to the first half. With the rhythm constantly broken by fouls and wide free kicks, the second half may hinge on one properly delivered set piece and a clean first header in the box. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's been a stop-start first half that never really found a rhythm. With the whistle going late on, both teams will be looking to cut out the cheap fouls and let the football breathe after the break. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and Cristiano Ronaldo has at least had a look at goal without finding that killer touch yet. If Portugal can finally turn one of those wide free kicks into a clean first-time chance after the break, the tension around him will crank right up. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and it's still been a stop-start finish with the whistle dominating those last few minutes. After all those wide free kicks on both flanks, the second half might come down to one properly delivered ball and a clean first contact in the box. Halftime in Toronto, Portugal and Croatia are still locked at 0-0 after 4-5-4. That first half finished in a blur of fouls and wide free kicks, and you just feel the second period could swing on one cleaner delivery and one decisive first touch in the box. Halftime change for Croatia. Igor Matanovic is on for Ante Budimir, and we stay at 0-0 in Toronto. That tells you they want a different focal point up top after Budimir has been right in the middle of that physical, foul-heavy finish to the half. Halftime in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia, with Croatia already making a change up top as Igor Matanovic comes on for Ante Budimir. After that foul-strewn finish, the second half might finally open up if the new striker can hold it up and bring runners into play. Still 0-0 at the break in Toronto, and Portugal will want Cristiano Ronaldo staying closer to the penalty area rather than drifting into midfield looking for touches. If the service comes earlier and runners go beyond him, those half chances can finally turn into a clean look at goal. We're at halftime in Toronto, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and Croatia have already rolled the dice up front with Igor Matanovic on for Ante Budimir. After that foul-heavy finish, the next clean first touch in the box could be the difference. Still 0-0 just after the restart, and Portugal's key is keeping Ronaldo as that high reference point rather than drifting into midfield for touches. If he does drop, someone has to sprint beyond him, and the ball has to arrive earlier into the box, not after Croatia are set. We're back underway at 4-6 minutes. It's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia, but Croatia have changed it up with Igor Matanovic on for Budimir. That feels like a clear signal. They want a stronger outlet to hold it up and bring midfield runners into the game as this second half stretches. Back underway at 4-6 minutes, and it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and you can already see the dilemma with Ronaldo dropped off to get involved. If Portugal want to hurt them, the passing to him has to come earlier, and someone has to sprint beyond before Croatia get their block set. Still 0-0 at 4-7 minutes, and Portugal's most promising moments are coming down that left channel again. But when the shooting lane opens, they've got to pull the trigger. If Ronaldo drops in for touches, someone has to run beyond him, and the ball has to go early, not after Croatia are set. 47 minutes gone in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0. Croatia with the second half settling after that foul-heavy end to the first. Croatia's already gone to Matanovic up top, and you sense they want a cleaner outball to finally get runners joining the attack. 47 minutes in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia, with both sides feeling their way into this second half after that scrappy finish before the break. Croatia's already gone to Matanovic up top, and that looks like a clear attempt to get a steadier outlet and bring runners closer to him. 48 minutes in Toronto, and it's still Portugal 0-0 to Croatia, but Croatia have started this half with real purpose, stepping up and trying to pin Portugal in. Portugal's got to play through that first wave cleanly. One calm pass out of pressure, and the whole picture changes. 48 minutes in Croatia have a corner. Diogo Costa forced to concede it under pressure. This is exactly the kind of set-piece spell Croatia want early in the half. Portugal have to win that first contact and get their line out cleanly.
Portugal are still just under 5 put a win with the draw mids and Croatia sub, so pricing's basically pinned even as the second half opens. At 0-0 in the 4HTH, that keeps the draw as the market's comfort zone, unless Portugal finally land the first clean chance. Portugal are now priced just under 5-0 with the draw mids in Croatia in the high teens, so it's a small drift against Portugal rather than a full repricing. At 0-0 in the 4ATH, that's the market leaning toward the stalemate unless Portugal turn this spell of pressure into the opener.
It's soon a 4-9 minutes, and Croatia have come out of the dressing room on the front foot, higher press a corner already, and they've even forced Diogo Costa into a big save. Portugal just need one calm spell of possession to play through that first wave and reset the tempo.
Portugal have slipped to just under a 5-0 win chance with the draw, holding in the mids, and Croatia nudging up into the mid-teens as that early second half pressure shows. At 0-0 on 4-9 minutes, this is the market saying Portugal need the next goal to stop the stalemate trade taking over.
49 minutes still, Portugal 0-0 Croatia, and that corner almost pays off. Nikola Vlasic swings a right-footed effort from the left side of the box, but drags it wide. Croatia are getting second balls around the area right now, and Portugal have to clear their lines, cleaner on these set pieces.
Portugal's win chance is still just under 50%, but Croatia have crept into the mid-teens while the draw sits firm in the high 30s, matching that early second half push. At 0-0 on 4-9 minutes, this pricing says Portugal need to steady the game fast, or the stalemate stays the market's base case. Portugal are now sub-2 to win, with the draw pushing into the highs and Croatia still only mid-teens, so it's a gentle drift towards stalemate rather than a full flip. At 0-0 on 5-0 minutes, Portugal need the next goal to stop this Croatian spell turning into a draw. First game. Portugal are now priced just under 5-0 to win with the draw, firm in the highs, and Croatia stuck in the mid-teens, so it's a mild drift towards stalemate rather than a flip. At 0-0 on 5-0 minutes, Portugal need to wrestle back control fast with the draw stays, the market's default. Portugal are now priced just under 5-0 to win, with the draw near 4-0 and Croatia in the mid-teens, so it's still a stalemate-leaning market rather than a real swing. At 0-0 and the 5-1 say, the longer this stays level, the more the draw remains, the comfortable trade.
51 minutes gone, it's still Portugal 0-0 Croatia. But you can feel Croatia's rhythm building through Modric, with Kovacic now the one bursting past the first challenge. Portugal's midfield has to stay tighter because once those carries get to the edge of the box, the shot is on.
Portugal are sitting just under 5-0 now, with the draw close to 4-0 and Croatia still only in the mid-teens, so it's a steady drift towards stalemate rather than a real flip. At 0-0 in the 5-2 ND, the clock is quietly doing the draw's work, unless Portugal create the next clear chance.
51 minutes, and it's a foul by Igor Matanovic on Bettina, getting Portugal a free kick in the attacking half with the score still 0-0. That's exactly the kind of moment Portugal have to make count. Get it up, get bodies around the second ball, and pin Croatia back for a spell.
Portugal are now in the highs, to win with the draw basically at 4-0. So it's still a gentle drift away from Portugal rather than any sharp Croatia repricing. At 0-0 in the 5-2 ND, every quiet minute keeps the stalemate trade in the driving seat, unless Portugal find the opener. Portugal is still the narrow favorite in the miss, but the draw is basically sitting around 4-0, and that tells you the market's getting comfortable with 0-0. With 2 minutes gone, Portugal need the next goal soon, or the clock keeps strengthening, the stalemate price. The market's flipped hard. Croatia are now the clear favorite in the mids, the draw sits in the mids, and Portugal have slid to the lows.
53 minutes and Croatia strike first. Portugal, Croatia 1. Ivan Perisic sweeping in a left-footed finish from the left side of the box. That's been coming since the restart. Croatia forcing the issue, and now Portugal have a real problem to solve in this second half. 53 minutes gone, it's still Portugal, 0-0 Croatia. Well, you can sense Croatia have stepped up a gear since the restart, squeezing higher and flooding that central lane. Portugal just need a calmer, cleaner spell on the ball, 1 or 2 sharp passes through midfield, and the press is beaten. 52 minutes and Vitina gives away a foul for Portugal, and that's a cheap way to let Croatia breathe with the lead. Now 1-0. Croatia will happily slow this down, get Modric on the ball from deep, and make Portugal chase back into shape.
Croatia are now the clear market favorite in the lows, with Portugal down in the lows and the draw mids, and the book is stacked with heavy sell interest above. At 0-1 on 5-3 minutes, Portugal need an equalizer soon, or this price will keep hardening around a Croatia win. Croatia are holding as the market favorite around the highs, with a draw in the mids, and Portugal down near 1-5 after that Perisic strike. At 0-1 on 4 minutes, Portugal need an equalizer quickly, or the pricing keeps leaning Croatia. Croatia are still priced as the favorite, just under 50% with the draw, about a third, and Portugal stuck around 1-5. So the market's holding that Perisic goal as a real edge rather than a wobble. At 0-1 on 4 minutes, Portugal need an equalizer soon, or this keeps tilting toward Croatia, seeing it out.
55 minutes gone in Toronto, and it's Portugal 0-1 Croatia, and you can see why Portugal is struggling. Vitina's getting crowded out the moment he turns. Portugal may have to move it quicker to the flanks and get earlier balls into the box because Croatia are shutting that central lane fast.
Croatia are holding as the favorite just under 50% with the draw about a third, and Portugal still down around 1-5. So the post-goal repricing is sticking rather than snapping back. At 0-1 in the 5-5 teach, Portugal need an equalizer soon, or the clock keeps reinforcing Croatia's edge. Croatia are still the market favorite in the mids, the draw sits in the mids, and Portugal are down around 1-5, so that post-goal repricing is holding steady. At 0-1 on 5 minutes, Portugal need an equalizer soon, or this keeps hardening toward Croatia, seeing it out. Croatia are holding just over 50% now, while Portugal are down in the high teens and the draw sits around a third. The market's leaning into Croatia, protecting this lead rather than wobbling. At 5-6 minutes and 0-1, Portugal's next goal is the equalizer that would snap this back toward a draw-heavy book.
56 minutes in Toronto, Portugal trailing 0-1 to Croatia, and that halftime change with Montanobis has clearly given Croatia a proper target to hit and play off. Portugal have got to beat that first contact in midfield, move it quicker, and find the wide outlets before they get swarmed again.
Croatia are still priced just under 50% with a draw around a third, and Portugal near 1-5, so that post-Perisic repricing is holding firm rather than bouncing. At 0-1 on 5-6 minutes, Portugal need an equalizer sooner. The clock keeps tightening. Croatia's grip.
56 minutes and Croatia are flagged offside. Nikolaus Šista strays beyond the line as he tries to spin in behind. That's a little warning for Portugal. Croatia are still looking to run off the shoulder and keep stretching this game at 1-0.
Croatia are still priced just under 50% with Portugal stuck around 1 and 5, and the book shows much heavier sell side, liquidity sitting above and bid support underneath. At 0-1 on 5, 7 minutes every scoreless minute now keeps tightening. Croatia's grip on seeing this out.
57 minutes gone and Luka Modric concedes the foul. Portugal win a free kick in the attacking half, still trailing. Croatia 0-1. This is a real platform for Bruno Fernandes to hang it into a dangerous area and finally make Croatia defend, facing their own goal. 58 minutes in Toronto and it's Portugal, 0-1 Croatia. And you can feel Portugal searching for a change of rhythm after that Perisic strike. Roberto Martinez looks poised to roll the dice from the bench because right now Croatia are too comfortable shutting off the middle.
Croatia are still priced just under 50% with Portugal down around 1 and 5 and the books noticeably heavier on the sell side than the bids. At 0-1 on 5, 8 minutes, if Portugal don't find an equalizer soon, the market will keep hardening toward Croatia, closing it out.
Leao absolutely thunders it from range and he smashes the crossbar. Portugal were inches from dragging this back to 1-1. And that was set up beautifully by Nuno Mendes stepping in to feed him. And straight after Croatia win, the corner, Diogo Costa forced into the concession as the pressure flips again.
Croatia are now priced around 50% with Portugal down in the high teens and the draw near a third, and the book still looks top heavy with sell liquidity above. At 0-1 on 5, 8 minutes, and Leao crossbar miss is exactly the kind of moment that keeps the market leaning. Croatia to protect the lead.
Leao has just crashed one off the crossbar at 5-8 minutes. Portugal are still down 0-1, but that's the first real punch since the restart. Croatia won't mind taking the sting out of it now, getting bodies behind the ball and making Portugal force the next pass.
Croatia's win chance has firmed into the lows now with Portugal slipping to the high teens and the draw around a third, so the market's reward.
59 minutes and Luka Modric goes into the book for Croatia after a late foul on Baitina, and Portugal get the free kick back in their own half with Croatia still leading 1-0. That's a rare moment of impatience from Modric, and Portugal have to use it to get out clean and reset their next way forward.
Croatia are holding just above 50% now with the draw around a third and Portugal stuck in the high teens, so the market's basically endorsing that 1-0 lead rather than fading it. At 5-9 minutes, every quiet spell without a Portugal equalizer just nudges this further toward Croatia, seeing it out. Croatia are priced in the lows now with the draw, about a third, and Portugal around 3-0, so the market's eased off. Croatia a touch, but still keeps them narrowly on top. At 6-0 minutes and 0-1, Portugal's next goal is the equalizer that would swing this back toward a draw, led book. Croatia's price has cooled into the lows, with the draw now the top line in the highs. While Portugal sit just under a third, this is a clear shift away from Croatia. See it out? Certainty. At 0-1 on 6-0 minutes, the market's basically saying Portugal pressure could force an equalizer and drag this toward a draw. Croatia have snapped back to about a 5-0 favor with a draw near a third, while Portugal are still sub-sell. The market's re-endorsing the 1-0 lead rather than pricing a comeback. At 6-1 minutes, every scoreless stretch now is another clean tackle for Croatia's. See it out, case.
We're at 6-1 minutes, Portugal still trailing Croatia 1-0, and Roberto Martinez is clearly lining up a proper shakeup from the bench. After Leao rattled the bar, you can see the idea now. Inject wicked runners to stop Croatia sitting in that compact block. 61 minutes and the flag goes up by Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo just strays offside as they try to time that run in behind. That's the fine margin now at 0-1. Portugal have to hold their nerve and get the release. Pass played a fraction earlier.
Croatia are back to roughly a coin flip to win with the draw about a third, and Portugal down near 1 and 5, and the book still looks heavy with offers above. At 0-1 on 6-1 minutes, if Portugal don't land an equalizer soon, this will keep grinding toward Croatia, closing it out. Croatia are still basically a coin flip to win with a draw around a third, and Portugal stuck near 1 in 5, and the order book looks top heavy with a lot more sell liquidity than bid support. At 0-1 on 6, 2 minutes of Portugal.
Portugal make a triple change on 6-2 and 6-3 minutes. Bernardo Silva is on for Vitina. Francisco Conceição replaces Pedro Neto, and now Semedo comes in for Bruno Fernandes. With Portugal still trailing, Croatia 0-1. That's Martinez screaming for a new rhythm and more wit after Leao's warning shot off the bar. Portugal are making a big move on the 6, 2 minutes at 0-1 down, with Roberto Martinez ready to throw on multiple substitutes in one hit. It's a clear signal he wants more wits and more runners because Croatia are starting to slow the game and protect that lead.
Croatia are still priced around a coin flip. The draw sits in the mids, and Portugal remain near 1 in 5.
63 minutes and Portugal make yet another change. Gonzalo Ramos is on for João Cancelo, and straight away they've won themselves a corner with Livakovic forced to concede it. That's Martinez going all in for an equalizer. Now more bodies in the box, more presence for this set piece.
Croatia are still the narrow favorite at just under 50% with the draw in the mids, and Portugal around 1 in 5, and the book remains heavily offer side above the market. At 0-1 on 6, 3 minutes, those triple subs have to translate into a quick equalizer, or this keeps tilting Croatia. Croatia are still priced just under 50% with the draw mids, and Portugal near 1 in 5, so the market's basically holding steady despite that wave of Portugal changes. At 0-1 on 6, 3 minutes this corner, and the fresh legs need to produce an equalizer fast, or Croatia see it out. Case keeps strengthening. Croatia are still priced just under 50% with a draw in the mid-sins, and Portugal around 1 in 5, so the market's basically steady despite that huge offer side liquidity sitting above %. At 0-1 on 6, 4 minutes, Portugal's next big moment has to be an equalizer soon, or this keeps leaning Croatia.
64 minutes and Portugal nearly have it. Rafael Leao swings his right foot at it from point-blank range into the corner, but he can't keep it down, and it flies wide. That's the kind of chance that has to at least hit the target when you're chasing Croatia at 0-1.
Croatia still priced as the narrow favorite in the midses with the draw midses, and Portugal down near 1 in 5, so the market's basically holding the 1-0 line. At 6-5 minutes, Portugal need that equalizer quickly, or this will keep drifting toward Croatia. Sing it out. The pricing has flipped again. The draw is now the top outcome in the low S, with Portugal in the mids and Croatia down in the highs.
66 minutes in Toronto, Portugal still trail Croatia 1-0, and that offside on Ronaldo just underlines how brutal the timing is when you're trying to get in behind.
That would make this draw.
Now from this corner, it's bodies everywhere. If the referee sees too much holding, this could swing on one whistle. VAR is checking a potential Portugal penalty here on 6-5 minutes, and that could be the turning point with Croatia still leading 1-0. You could feel it building after that corner, and Leao's close-range miss. Portugal have bodies committed now, and Croatia are suddenly defending on a knife edge.
The book is now draw first at just over 40%, with Portugal close behind in the highs, while Croatia's win chance has slid under 20. So that 1-0 lead is being treated as shaky. With VAR checking a Portugal penalty at 6-6 minutes, an equalizer feels like the market's base case right now.
VAR is checking a possible Portugal penalty at 6-6 minutes with Croatia still leading 1-0, and it all comes down to that wrestling at the corner. If the ref believes the holding actually prevents a clean header, Portugal could be right back in this game from the spot.
The draw is still the market's top call. The lows of Portugal next in the mids and Cs, and Croatia pushed down into the lows, so that 1-0 lead is being priced as vulnerable. With VAR still hovering over a possible Portugal penalty at 6-6 minutes, one converted spot kick would snap this straight back toward 1-1.
VAR is still checking a possible Portugal penalty at 6-7 minutes with Croatia leading 1-0, and it's all about that corner buds grappling. If the officials judge the holding genuinely stops the attacker attacking the ball, Portugal could have a massive route back into this match from 12 yards.
The market's basically split between Portugal and the draw in the mid-series, while Croatia's win chance is down near the low teens, so that 1-0 lead is being priced as very fragile. With VAR still checking a possible Portugal penalty at 6-7-1 whistle here, could drag this straight toward a 1-1 base case. The market's now basically a Portugal or draw book, with Croatia crushed to the low teens despite leading 1-0 at 6-7. If VAR gives that penalty and Portugal convert this pricing, says the equalizer is the expected swing point.
VAR's been checking that Portugal penalty shot at 6-7 minutes with Croatia still 1-0 up, and it's all about the corner boss wrestling. If the referee judges the pull actually stops the attacker getting a clean header, that's a spot kick and a huge swing in this game. VAR has ruled a penalty to Portugal at 6-5 minutes, and that's a massive match-shaping call. 68 minutes, Croatia make their change. Mario Bacalaric is on for Martin Baturina, and it's see here in the 6-9th minute. That's a clear move to get fresh legs and a bit more bite in midfield right after Ronaldo's penalty has wiped out the lead. 68 minutes, and it's US now. Ronaldo steps up and buries the penalty with his right foot for Portugal. That VAR-awarded spot has completely flipped the momentum, and now Croatia's lead is gone in one ruthless, clinical moment.
The draw is now the clear market favorite in the mid-seas, with Portugal close to 4-0 and Croatia down in the mid-teens after that equalizer. At 1-1 on 6-9 minutes, this pricing says Portugal's next big spell is the one most likely to turn into the winner. The draw is still the market's top outcome at just under half. Portugal sit around 2-5 and Croatia are down near the low teens. So the book saying Croatia need a real swing to get back on top. At 1 in the 6-9 each, that puts extra weight on Portugal's next attacking spell as the most likely route to a winner.
It's on our 7-0 minutes, and that VAR penalty is exactly why corners have become a wrestling match under a microscope. Once the referee decides the graph stops a genuine header, Croatia can argue all they like, but they've got to keep their hands off in that 6-yard chaos.
The draw is still the market leader at just under half. Portugal sit around 2-5 and Croatia are stuck in the low teens. So the book's pricing a tight finish with Croatia needing a swing. At 1-1 on 7-0 minutes, that keeps the pressure on Portugal to turn their momentum into a winner before this drifts toward a stalemate. The draw is still the market's frontrunner. At just under half, Portugal are close behind around 2-5, and Croatia are priced as a long shot in the low teens. At 1 on 7-0 minutes, it says the game's settling into a stalemate unless Portugal can turn this momentum into a winner. At 7-1 minutes, the draw is still the market's top pick, just under 50%, with Portugal next around 40 and Croatia stuck in the low teens. So it's a tight, draw-leaning book. At 1-1, that pricing says Portugal's next sustained push is the most likely way this stalemate gets broken. The prices haven't really budged. The draw is still just under 50%. Portugal sit around 40, and Croatia remain a low teens outsider. At 1-1 in the 7-1 Saint, the market's basically saying Portugal need to force the next big spell, or this drifts to a point apiece. The book's still drawing at just under half. Portugal next around 2-5 and Croatia stuck in the low teens with heavy sell side sitting above the market. At 1-1 on 7, 2 minutes, that keeps the pressure on Portugal to find the next breakthrough before this settles into a share of the points. The pricing is basically unchanged. The draw still leads around half. Portugal sit in the highs, and Croatia are stuck in the low teens with big sell-side overhead. At 1-1 in the 7-3 RD, that screams stalemate risk, unless Portugal can turn the momentum into one more clean chance.
We had a drinks break at 6-9 minutes, and after that pause, they've been ready to continue with it. Still locked at 1-1 in the 7-4 TH. That little reset can be huge now. Both benches will be shouting details because the next 5 minutes could decide who grabs control.
The draw is still the market favorite at about half. Portugal sit in the highs and Croatia remain a low teens long shot, so pricing is basically steady rather than swinging. At 1-1 in the 7-4 TH, that steadiness points to the game, drifting toward a point apiece unless Portugal land the next decisive spell.
74 minutes gone, and it's a foul by Igor Matanovic on Nessun Semo, so Portugal win a free kick deep in their own half with the score still 1-1. That's a needless one from Croatia at this stage. You cannot keep handing Portugal cheap restarts to build their next wave.
The draw is still priced as the front runner just over 50%, with Portugal in the mid-Z's and Croatia down in the mid-teens, so there's no real late swing yet. At 1-1 on 7-5 minutes, that's the market leading to a stalemate, unless Portugal can manufacture one more clear chance.
75 minutes and it's a corner to Croatia. Diogo Costa, the one who's had to concede it, and we're still locked at 1-1. This is a huge set-piece moment now. Portugal have got to be switched on to the first ball and the second ball in that 6-yard crowd.
The draw has firmed into the lows now. Portugal have eased to the mids and Croatia are stuck around the low teens, so the market's leaning harder toward a stalemate. At 1-1 in the 7-6 TH, Portugal need a real surge soon, or this starts to feel like a point each. The draw is still the clear market leader at about half, with Portugal in the lows and Croatia under 1-5, so there's no late winner being priced in yet. At 1-1 on 7-6 minutes, that's the book telling you this is drifting toward a point apiece unless Portugal can force a decisive spell.
76 minutes and Croatia are suddenly knocking. Kovacic's hit from the middle is clawed away by Diogo Costa, and Portugal survive again as it spins out for a corner. Then from Modrita Maises, but can't keep the header down just over the bar.
The draws, now the clear favorite in the lows Portugal, are down around a third, and Croatia are priced in the mid-teens, so the market's leaning harder into a stalemate. At 1-1 on 7 minutes, Croatia's recent pressure hasn't translated into a late winner repricing yet. The draw is still the clear favorite in the mid-range, with Portugal around a third and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the book's basically steady rather than swinging. At 1-1 on 7 minutes, that stability says the market expects us to grind toward a point apiece unless Portugal find a late gear.
77 minutes, and Diogo Costa comes up huge again. He gets down low to his bottom right to smother Matadanović's tight angle drive, and it's another corner for Croatia. That's a warning for Portugal. Croatia finding shots off second balls and broken phases around the box.
The draw has firmed into the mid-bis range with Portugal around a third and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the market's leaning even harder toward a stalemate. At 1-1 in the 7 ATH, Croatia's recent corners and shots still haven't forced a late winner repricing. The draw is now the clear market favorite in the mid-range with Portugal around 3-0 and Croatia down near the mid-teens. So it's still pricing a stalemate more than a late winner. At 1 in the 7-9 TH, Portugal need to flip this momentum fast or the clock keeps dragging the price toward a point each. Draw stays the clear favorite in the mids, with Portugal down around 3-0, and Croatia still a mid-teens outsider. So the book's steady rather than reacting to that Croatian pressure. At 1 in a 7-9 TH, every quiet minute now nudges us closer to a point apiece. Unless Portugal find a late spark. The draw has tightened into the mid-range now, with Portugal around 3-0 and Croatia still down in the mid-teens, so the market's leaning even more toward no late winner. At 1-1 on 8-0 minutes, Portugal need a real push right now, or this is drifting to a point each. The draw is still the clear frontrunner, a touch above 50%, while Portugal and Croatia are both sitting down in the 20s, so the market's basically pricing no late winner right now. At 1-1 on 8-0 minutes, Croatia's recent pressure hasn't forced a repricing yet, so a stalemate remains the base case. The draw is now being priced close to 3 and 5, with Portugal under a third and Croatia down in the mid-teens, so the market's leaning even harder toward no late winner. At 1-1 in the 8-1 St. Portugal need a decisive spell right now, or this just keeps drifting toward a point each.
80 minutes on the clock and Croatia are flagged offside, but Tarsucci's thing just straying a fraction too early. That's a cheap way to kill your own momentum when you've actually been getting bodies up around Portugal's box in the second half.
The draw has strengthened to roughly 3 and 5 now, with Portugal slipping to the highs and Croatia down around the mid-teens, so the market's leaning even harder toward no late winner. At 1-1 in the 8-1 St. Portugal.
81 minutes and a huge call from Roberto Martinez. Cristiano Ronaldo is withdrawn and Ruben Neves comes on for Portugal with it still 1-1. That's a clear signal they want more control and cleaner ball circulation in midfield after Croatia's spell of pressure and shots.
The draw has firmed to around 3 and 5 now, with Portugal in the mid-seas and Croatia stuck in the mid-teens, so the pricing is tightening around a stalemate. At 1-1 in the 8-2 ND, that Ronaldo sub plus the clock says Portugal need one clean late surge, or this is drifting to a point each. The draw is now priced around 3 and 5, with Portugal in the mids and Croatia in the mid-teens, so the market's tightening around a stalemate as we hit 8-2 min. At one Portugal's late push has to be sharp and immediate, or the clock keeps dragging this toward a point apiece. The draw has tightened to roughly 3 and 5 now, with Portugal in the mids and Croatia still a mid-teens long shot. So the market's basically pricing no late winner. At 1 on 8, 3 minutes, Portugal need a clean late spell without Ronaldo, or this is drifting to a point apiece. The draw is now priced around 3 and 5, with Portugal in the mids and Croatia still down in the mid-teens, so the market's leaning even harder toward no late winner. At 1-1 in the 8-3 RD, every dead minute now is basically a tick toward a point each unless Portugal find a late gear. The draw has firmed into the lows range now, with Portugal in the lows and Croatia still a mid-teens outsider, so the market's tightening around no late winner as we hit 4 minutes. At 1-1, Portugal need one clean sustained spell to break that stalemate pricing. The draw is now priced around 2/3, with Portugal down in the lows and Croatia barely above 10. So the market's basically locking in no late winner as the clock drains. At 1-1 in the A4TH, Portugal need one big final push without Ronaldo, or this is heading straight for a point apiece. The draw has pushed up into roughly 2/3 now, with Portugal down near the lows and Croatia barely in the low teens, so the market's tightening hard around no late winner. At 1-1 on 8, 5 minutes, every safe passage of play just reinforces that point each script. The draw is basically sitting around 2/3 now, with Portugal near 1/5 and Croatia down in the low teens, so the market's still pricing no late winner despite all that depth. At 1 on a 5 minutes, Portugal need a clean final surger. This is drifting to a point apiece. 'The draw is now priced around 2/3, with Portugal in the lows and Croatia down near the low teens, so the market's leaning hard into no late winner at 6 minutes. At 1-1, every quiet passage from here just tightens that draw script unless Portugal find one last clean break.
86 minutes, and it's a corner for Portugal. Perisic, the one who's at the conceded, and we're still locked at 1-1. This is the moment for Portugal's big bodies to attack that first contact. One clean header, and it can turn frantic in the 6-yard box.
The draw has jumped to about 7-0 now, with Portugal under 2-0 and Croatia near 1-0. So the market's really tightening around the late winner at 7 minutes. At 1-1, Portugal need a decisive final attack right now, or this is basically drifting into a point apiece. The draw is now priced around 70%, with Portugal under 20 and Croatia close to 10. So the market's leaning heavily into no late winner as we hit 7 minutes. At 1-1, Portugal's next clean chance has to be immediate, or the clock just keeps banking. That point apiece.
87 minutes and Portugal close from the corner. Renato Vega meets Nuno Mendes, cross with a free header, but he cleanses it wide to the left. That's the chance you have to hit the target with this late. because set pieces are where this game's opening up.
The draw has now firmed into the low process range, with Portugal slipping to the high teens and Croatia down near 1 in 10. So the market's basically paying up for stalemate as we hit 8-8. At 1-1. Portugal need one last clean spell in the box right now, or this is closing out as a point each. The draw is now priced in the mid-C range, with Portugal in the mid-teens and Croatia down near 1 in 10, so the market's tightening further around. No late winner at 8 minutes. At 1-1, every save, recycle, and stoppage is basically another tick toward this finishing level. The draw has tightened again into the mid-Chi AC range, with Portugal in the mid-teens and Croatia down around 1 in 10, so the market's basically paying up for stalemate at 8-9 minutes. At 1-1, Portugal need one last clean set piece delivery, or this is closing out level.
89 minutes, and Croatia have just had a big one. Mario Pasalecky gets his head on it from the middle of the box, but he can't steer it on target. That's the warning for Portugal. One loose spark in that central channel, and this match can swing right at the death.
The draw is now priced around 3/4, with Portugal only mid-teens and Croatia near 1 in 10, so the market's basically paying up for stalemate as we hit 8-9. At 1-1, unless Portugal land a clean final ball into the box, this is drifting straight to a point each. The draw is now priced around 3/4, with Portugal in the mid-teens and Croatia near 1 in 10, so the market's basically treating this as locked level at the 30-minute mark. At 1-1, it'll take one last clean Portugal delivery or break to beat that stalemate pricing. The draw is now priced around 3/4, with Portugal in the high teens and Croatia down near 1 in 10, so the market's basically locking in a level finish at 9-0 minutes. At 1-1 this late, only a single clean Portugal break or set piece header changes the payout story. The draw is still the clear favorite at roughly 7 in 10 in stoppage time, with Portugal around the lows and Croatia down near 1 in 10. So pricing says no, late winner despite the big def. At 1 in 901, Portugal need one clean final delivery, or this is basically settling level.
+1, and it's a corner to Portugal. Stanisic the one, forced to concede it, and we're still locked at 1-1 with 10 minutes of added time on the board. Portugal have already had joy from these late set pieces. Croatia cannot lose that first header in the 6-yard box.
The draw is holding around the low range in 901, with Portugal in the high teens and Croatia near 1 in 10. So the market's still paying up for stalemate. With it 1-1 in 10 minutes added, this Portugal corner is the kind of single moment that can flip that pricing fast. The draw is still priced around 3/4 in 901, while Portugal sits in the high teens and Croatia near 1 in 10. So the market's staying anchored to stalemate. With 10 minutes added and a Portugal corner on the board, one clean first contact is the quickest way to blow that up. The draw is still sitting around 3/4 in 902, with Portugal under 1 in 5 and Croatia down near 1 in 10. So the market's basically pricing no late winner despite all that added time. At 1-1, every clear corner and slow restart is another tick toward the settling level.
91 and going La Ramos gets right on the end of it from 6 yards, but he can't keep the header down, and it sails high and wide. Portugal are living off these corners now at 1-1. And at 9:02, Croatia respawn with a change. Josko Gvardiol on for the Vlasi sit fresh legs to see out this stoppage time storm.
Portugal is still priced as the clear favorite at roughly 4 and 5, while the draw sits closer to 3 and 10, and Croatia is almost written off. And that's a big late skew for a 1-1 game. In 9:03, that tells you the market's leaning hard toward a Portugal stoppage time winner rather than the settling level. Portugal has surged to roughly 9 and 10 to win, with the draw crushed to about 1 and 10, and Croatia essentially priced out. At 9:03, with it still 1-1, that's the market screaming late Portugal winner, so every Portugal attack now carries massive payoff swing. Portugal is now priced in the low ZO range to win, with a draw down to single digits, and Croatia effectively dead in the book. At 9:04, with Portugal up 2-1, the market's basically saying, see this out, unless Croatia land. Portugal's win price has just collapsed, and the draw has been marked sharply higher after that 9:04 header, with Croatia's comeback odds pushed right out. With 5+ minutes still on the clock, it's now all about whether Croatia can force one last equalizer.
Portugal have just gone 2-1 up in 94 through a Gonzalo Ramos header. Give us the immediate market swing and what it implies for the final minutes.
Portugal is trading around 9 and 10 to close us out, with the draw near 1 and 10, and Croatia basically priced off the board. At 9:05, with Portugal 2-1 up, the only real risk left is one Croatia equalizer, turning this market on its head. Portugal still trading at roughly 9 and 10 to win, with a draw around 1 and 10, and Croatia basically priced out as we hit 9:05. With Portugal 2-1 up, the market saying manage the clock, because only a late Croatia equalizer really flips the payout. Portugal is still priced at roughly 9 and 10 to see this out, with the draw hanging around 1 and 10 and Croatia essentially shut out. At 9:05 and 2-1 up is pure game management now. Don't concede a cheap set piece.
90+6 Croatia make a late change. Andres Komariak is on for Mateo Kovacic, with Portugal still leading 2-1. That's an attacking roll of the dice for one last delivery into the box, but it also breaks Croatia's rhythm at the worst possible moment.
Portugal is still priced around 9 and 10 to win in 9:06, with the draw sitting near 1 and 10, and Croatia effectively zeroed out. With Portugal up 2-1 this deep into stoppage time, it's all about avoiding one last Croatia equalizer on a final ball. Portugal is still priced around 9 and 10 to win, with the draw stuck near 1 and 10, and Croatia effectively at 0. At 9:06 and 2:01, that's a market saying Portugal just need to kill the clock and avoid one last Croatian set piece. Portugal is still priced at about a 9-0 win chance, with the draw near 1-0, and Croatia basically shut out as we hit 9:07. With Portugal 2-1 up this late, it's all about seeing off one last Croatian delivery that could force an equalizer. Portugal is holding in the low Joe range to win with the draw around 1 in 10 and Croatia effectively priced out, as we said at 907. With Portugal 2-1 up, the market's only real fear is one last Croatia equalizer from a final ball into the box.
90 plus 8 and Iban Perez that clatters in late. Portugal win the free kick deep in their own half, and Perez says Botori. That's exactly what Portugal want. Now slow it down, take the sting out, and make Croatia chase the ball instead of the clock.
Portugal still trading around a 9 in 10 chance to win, with the draw stuck near 1 in 10, and Croatia basically priced out as we hit 908. With that free kick one deep, Portugal can chew up precious seconds and make Croatia's last equalizer push even harder. Portugal still priced just under 9 in 10 to win, with the draw hovering around 1 in 10 and Croatia effectively off the board. At 909 with Portugal 2-1 up, that defensive half, free kick is pure clock killing. Croatia need a miracle delivery just to force the equalizer.
Perez goes into the book at 908 and now at 909 Croatia have a corner after Otto Ben Neves concedes it. This is absolutely last chance territory with Portugal leading 2-1. Everyone's going to be crashing that 6-yard box. Portugal have to win the first header and get it out clean.
Portugal still priced in the low dough range to win with the draw. Only a small single-digit chance, and Croatia effectively at 0. But at 909 and Croatia staring at a corner, one clean header could still drag this into a draw. Portugal is still priced in the mid-zone range to win with the draw. Only a small single-digit chance, and Croatia effectively at 0. But at 909, with Croatia taking this corner, one clean contact can still force the equalizer and flip the payout.
90 plus 9 at Croatia. Get the header through. Igor Matanovic from the middle of the box, but it's blocked. Portugal throw a body in the way and survive again. That cross from Luka Modric asked the question, but Portugal win the first duel when it matters most.
Portugal's up in the mid-so range to win now with a draw, down to low single digits, and Croatia basically shut out. At 9-10 and 2-1, it's all about Portugal surviving this final wave. One Croatia equalizer is the only thing that reopens the draw. Portugal is now priced in the highsies to win, with the draw down around a couple of percent and Croatia essentially dead. And there's still chunky sell side sitting on the draw, and Croatia at 9-11 with Portugal 2-1 up. It's basically no mistakes defending one late. Equalizer's the only thing that reopens it. Portugal is basically priced as a lock now in the highsies with the drawdown around 1%, and Croatia effectively 0. And there's still heavy sell side stacked against any upset. At 9-11 with Portugal 2-1 up, the only live risk is one last Croatia equalizer from a final ball. Portugal's win price is basically pinned in the highs now, with the draw only a tiny single-digit chance, and Croatia effectively off the board. At 9-12 with Portugal 2-1 up, it's pure see-it-out territory. Just don't concede one last set-piece equalizer. Portugal is effectively priced as a lock in the highsies now, with Croatia and the draw basically unbid and only token offers sitting there. At 9-12 with Portugal 2-1 up, it's simply about clearing the next ball and not gifting Croatia a stoppage time equalizer.
90 plus 12, and Francisco Conceição snatches at it from the right side of the box, left-footed, and he drags it wide of the far post. Semedo did well to tee it up, but Portugal will be thinking game management now with that 2-1 lead.
The market's gone haywire here. The draw is being priced as the clear favorite around the high ball range, while Portugal's win chances marked in single digits despite leading 2-1 in the 9-0-13th. Unless there's an unreported Croatia equalizer, that's a glaring mismatch with the clock and scoreline. The pricing is completely inverted right now. The draw is being treated like a near lock, while Portugal's win is marked in low single digits, which doesn't fit a 2-1 Portugal lead in the 9-0-13th. Unless Croatia have already equalized off camera, this should snap back hard toward Portugal as soon as the feed confirms play. The book is still badly inverted. The draw is being treated as the favorite, while Portugal's win is oddly discounted despite a 2-1 lead deep in 9-0-13. If the scoreline holds, this should whip back toward Portugal the moment the clock and final whistle are confirmed. Portugal is still the clear favorite, near 90% to win, while the draw is oddly sitting around the mid-40s this deep into stoppage time. With Portugal 2-1 up at 9-0-13, that draw price only makes sense if Croatia are about to nick a late equalizer. Portugal's win is now marked around 70% with the draw. Still a chunky, roughly 30, which is a big, not settled yet signal this late. At 9-0-14 with Portugal up 2-1, that draw price is basically the market screaming 1. With VAR confirming 2-2 at 9-0-15, any Portugal win price should collapse and the draw should snap to heavy odds on immediately with only a thin sliver left for a late winner. With seconds left in level, the market's basically pricing stoppage time chaos rather than form.
We've got the stoppage time equalizer confirmed. Gavardiol makes it 2-2 at 90-13 and awards it at NEU. Chua Petit margin earlier suddenly makes sense. Quick take on how violently prices should snap to the draw now with seconds left. We've got VAR checking the Croatia goal at 9:15, and right now it's showing 2-2 after Josko Guardiola's close-range finish. Portugal thought Gongutalama's header had won it, but Croatia have stayed alive on that second phase in the 6-yard area. Now everyone's holding their breath.
Portugal is still being priced as an almost certain winner, even though the scoreboard is 2-2, and VAR is checking that Croatia equalizer, so the market looks out of sync with the live state. If VAR upholds it this deep, the draw should become the dominant outcome, with only a tiny window for a last gasp winner. Portugal is priced as a near lock at roughly 9-9, even though we're deep in 9-0-16 with the score sitting 2-2 and Croatia basically written off. If this really stays level to the whistle, that Portugal price is the one that has to snap back fast. Portugal is priced as basically a lock in the highsies, with the draw only a tiny couple of percent. And Croatia, effectively, dead. With VAR having just wiped out Croatia's equalizer and Portugal still 2-1 up at 9-0-16, it's now all about killing the final seconds cleanly. Portugal is priced as essentially a done deal in the highses, with a draw down to a tiny couple of percent, and Croatia basically untradeable. At 9-0-16 with Portugal 2-1 up, that's the market saying, just see out the last clearance and it's over.
VAR has overturned Croatia's late Guardiola goal at Nutuanu. Score stays Portugal 2-1, Croatia at 90-16. Worth flagging how violently the win rock pricing should snap back after that decision.
Snap back sharply with the clock basically gone. At 2-1 in the 9-0-6, Croatia now needs a miracle equalizer rather than riding the momentum of a late leveler. Portugal's price is a near certainty in the highs with a draw down to just a couple of percent, and Croatia essentially written off after that. VAR, no goal. At 9:16 with Portugal 2-1 up, it's all about one last clearance to lock it.
We're at 9:17 and there's a delay involving Portugal, with Portugal still leading Croatia 2-1 in the dying seconds. After that VAR no goal, this stoppage just cranks the tension up again. Portugal will be desperate to keep everything calm and restart cleanly.
And Croatia effectively untradeable after that VAR no goal. At 9:17 with a Portugal delay, it's basically about restarting cleanly and seeing out the final seconds. Portugal is still priced as an almost certain winner with a draw barely a 1.2% tail, and Croatia effectively at 0 after that VAR no goal. At 9:17 with Portugal 2-1 up and a delay on the pitch, the only live risk is a messy restart gifting Croatia one last set piece. Portugal is still priced in the high Z's to win with Croatia, basically at 0, and the draw just a tiny tail despite huge sell balls sitting up top. At 9:18 with Portugal 2-1 up after that VAR no goal, it's all about surviving the restart without conceding one last set piece. Portugal is now fully priced as a locked winner with buyers stacked at 1-0 in Croatia and the draw effectively marked at 0. At 9:19 with Portugal still 2-1 up, it's the market saying the only job left is to run down the final seconds cleanly.
And that's it. Full time at 9:19, Portugal 2, Croatia 1. Croatia thought they'd snatched it late through Jabadial, but VAR ruled it out, and Portugal, hang on, after Goncalo Ramos, stoppage time header turns the whole game on its head.
Portugal is now priced as fully settled with Portugal effectively at 1-0, and both Croatia and the draw pinned to 0, with no real bids showing. With full time at 9:19 and that VAR no goal, the market's treating this as locked and done. Portugal is now fully locked at effectively 1-0 with Croatia and the draw pinned to 0 and no bids showing on either. With full time confirmed at 2-1 after that VAR no goal, this is settled pricing rather than a live late swing market. Portugal is fully locked at essentially 1-0 with Croatia, and the draw pinned to 0 and no bids showing, so this is settled pricing, not a live market. With full time confirmed at 2-1, after that, VAR no goal, there's no late twist left to price, just payout mechanics now. Portugal is fully locked at essentially 1-0 with Croatia and the draw pin to 0 and no real bids showing, so this is settled pricing rather than a live market. With full time confirmed at 2-1 after that VAR no goal, there's no late equalizer risk left, just the payout process.